Today we are going to assemble and install some gutters. Hi everybody, I'm Jim Dierdorf and this is Detroit DIY. What we're working with is these 10-foot lengths of gutters. I need about 24 feet, so it's two pieces and a little bit more. The first thing we're going to do is get them cut down, and I'm going to use a metal cutting wheel. So let's get started. I've installed this 4-inch metal cutting wheel on my 4-inch grinder. And that's what I'm going to use to cut this. Where the ends are roughed up right here, I'm going to use a file to deburr this. Something just like that, you'll get a nice clean edge. I have the gutters cut and they're laid out on the ground here, and I've labeled them up just so there's no confusion. So I just marked the ends. I marked where the downspouts are going to be, and then I just labeled each gutter 2 and 1 and where they're going to join together. It's time to install the downspout adapters. So I want them to run right down this piece of trim. So I've measured from the edge of the roof to the trim, and the gutter is going to be sticking past the shingles 1/2 of an inch on each end, just to make sure it collects all the water. So to have the downspout run right down this, I need 14.5 inches, and that leaves me my 1/2 inch at the top. I've marked out my gutter at 14.5 inches right here. So now I want to center up my downspout adapter on those marks, and I want to make sure that it's flushed this way so that when I set it inside of there, because there's not a lot of room, so I just want to make sure that it's going to fit into the gutter from the inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold it like that, and I'm going to trace the inside line. So that I have that. Now I'll go ahead and turn it over and line that up and retrace the outside line. So now I know I'm good to go. Now what I'm going to do is just drill a small hole right in the center here. And then I'm going to use my tin snips to cut out this opening. Now I want to test it and make sure it's going to fit in there. I might have to do a little bit of trimming. Fits in part of the way, but it's a little bit snug, so I'm going to go ahead and just open it up a little bit more. So now it fits in very nicely. So we're ready to flip it over, and it would actually be inserted in this side, and this is what you're going to see. So what we need to do is drill some 1/8 inch holes in here and get this ready to be riveted on. Okay, so what we're going to need here is some white rivets, a rivet gun, and an 1/8 inch drill bit. So I'm going to go ahead and drill some of these holes in here. just like that. You want to make sure that one lines up before you drill the next one. So I'm going to drill 2. So what I'm going to do now is install a little bit of gutter seamer or seamer mate, gutter sealant, to the bottom side of the flange. Just like so. I want to get a nice liberal bead around here. And I'll seal the rivets also once everything's installed, so that I have no drips here. You want a nice liberal bead like that all the way around. So I've also put a little mark on here so that I know which way it goes in, and I have a little mark here for the holes that I pre-drilled. So I'm going to go ahead and set that back in there, kind of push it in place. I like this rivet gun a little bit better because it's so narrow bodied right here for getting next to that gutter adapter. Alright, so we're just going to slip the rivet in, and we're going to come through from this back side with the rivet. And we want to make sure that it goes down tight on our flange, just like that. Hold it on there nice. Lock it in place. Same thing with this one. Very nice. Now I'm going to go ahead and drill the rest of these holes and get the rest of these rivets in. So now that it's installed, you can see some sealer sticking out around it. What it looks like from the back side with the white rivets. So now what we want to do is go ahead and seal this up a little bit better in here. Just a nice little bead right around it. And you want to go over the tops of these rivets with a little bit of sealer so they don't leak through. Something just like that. So now that that's complete, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put the end on. Now we have a left hand and a right hand. So when you pick up your ends, you want to make sure that you have a left hand and a right hand for each gutter. So what we're going to need for this end is the right hand. And what we're going to do is the same thing. We're just going to put a little bit of sealer right here on this inside edge. Not too much, because we're going to seal it from the inside also. Something just like that. Sounds like I'm not the only one working on stuff today. Then we're just going to fit it on the curved part first. And you'll have to manipulate it a little bit to get it to go on. Then you'll have to squeeze the back side of the gutter to get it to go in. Something like that. Then just push it into place. Give it a nice little tap on there. Now these are not the correct crimpers, but I could not find my crimper, so this is what we're using. Now what we want to do is crimp this to the gutter, just like that. Crimp it in a couple of spots so that it gets a nice tight squeeze on the gutter itself. So just like that. Now we're going to take our seamer and we're going to seal the inside of this. Just like laying a bead of caulk in there. So it will look something like that. This is what that should look like when it's all finished. Nice and sealed tight. No water will get through that. So now the only thing left to install are the couplers for the gutter sections. These couplers have tabs that the gutter slides into. And sometimes what happens is they get smushed a little bit flat. And you need to take a small screwdriver and get in there and raise those up a little bit so that it will more readily slide on. Something like that. You need to go through and check them all and make sure that they're raised up. As you can see, it's real tight right here, so I'll have to raise it up there also. Okay, I've got all the starters raised up. So what I want to do is I want to install this on the first gutter. I'm going to connect opposite of the downspout. So I'm going to start on the high side and work my way down. So the next gutter section that connects to this will get one on the opposite end for the third piece to connect to. Helps if you put it on the right way. And they can be a little bit of a bugger to get on. So I'm just going to try and get one part started first. Something like that. And then I'll work my way to the back. And there we have it. It's installed. This final tab right here will get bent over the tops once it's all installed. So this will also get some seam sealer here on the inside, and I'm going to put some rivets in it. Okay, I drilled one hole right here. I'm just going to put one rivet on the back side. And this is just going to hold it in place for you while you're wrestling the other gutter on so that this doesn't get knocked off. I'll put one in the bottom and I'm going to put one in the face. When you're putting these rivets in, you want to make sure that you hold tight to the back of it and push it up tight so that the metal is all pulled tight together before you start squeezing the rivet. So there we have it. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the seam sealer on here just the same as I did on the end cap to seal this all up, no leaks. This is the style hanger that we'll be using for the gutters, and it uses a 1/4-inch drive socket to install it. So I laid out my gutters and I marked them every 2 feet, so I'm going to put a hanger every 2 feet. And these hangers are relatively easy to go in. This hooked end goes up underneath the lip of the gutter, and the other end slides right over the back of the gutter, just like that. So I'll get them installed, and then we're going to snap a line on the fascia with the chalk line, and we are going to just have a 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch of drop, probably 1/2 inch in the gutter from one end to the other, and that's going to be plenty. This is what they should look like once all the hangers are installed. I've got them laid out here, and I've got all the hangers in, and as soon as Brett gets here, we'll start getting them up. We got the line snapped on, and we're getting ready to install the first section of gutter. Brett has arrived. All right, here's how we install the fasteners. Just run the screw through. And as you can see, our chalk line is right here, just below the lip of the, or just above the lip of the gutter. We're going to go ahead and continue on the same way, get all these fasteners in, and complete this assembly. Brett and I finished installing the gutters, and I just want to show you what we're going to do to complete this. So they're all up, all the holders are in place. The only key I could give you here is to make sure that you push firmly on your drill driver while you're putting these screws in place, so that it doesn't pull away, or it pulls away as little as possible. The connector is right here, and what I want to do is put a rivet, 2 rivets, one in the face and one in the bottom. So just like we did before, only I won't be able to get one in the back. So 1 rivet right here and 1 rivet underneath, and then I'll put the seam sealer right here, just like I did on this other side. The rivets are in, the seam sealer is in. The last thing we need to do is bend this tab over, and they put some little serrations in it to kind of help you, but you have to make sure that you get it underneath, just like that. Also, just a little pointer, this is not a very friendly one-person job. It'll be very difficult with one person to get them on the line and get them where they're angled the right way. Okay, I'm ready to install the downspout. One end of this, it looks like this, and that is the side that this slides into the gutter. So that would always point down so that water can't leak out. The other side looks like this, and that would always be pointing up. So when I'm going to put it on this adapter, I'm going to give it a little squeeze. Not too much, but a little bit, just so it stays stuck on there when I put it on, and that'll allow me to get my measurement. So just like that, it'll stay stuck on there. Now I'll take this one and I'll hold it right here at the same angle as such, and then I will get a measurement between the two and cut my downspout. And I'll cut it the same way. I will use the blade, I will cut it the same way. I'll use the metal blade in my 4.5 inch grinder. So when you measure your piece and you cut it, you want to make sure that you're about 2 inches up on this side and the other side, so an additional 4 inches from the ends. And sometimes these are crimped to go into here, but sometimes they're a little bit of a bear and they don't want to go in, and you have to fight them a little bit, the corners and the ends, but they can be a little bit of a chore to get in there. But once they get in, they're usually good. If they fight me too much, what I like to do, I do not use the gutter crimpers, I use a pair of needle nose pliers, and I'll just grab the corners like so and just kind of pull them in a little bit. If it fights me too bad, and that'll give you the additional space that you need to help you get it in there. Like right there, it's hung up a little bit right here. And there we have it. And then just push it on there nice and tight. Just like that. Same thing with the other side. So then the other side, went on nice and easy. However, we want it this way. So, something like that. Let's go see how it fits. So there we have it. It fits nicely. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and measure for my downspout down to the ground. And then I'll put another one of these on that. And then we'll get our screws in. I cut my downspout at 6 feet. And I've got everything slid together. And I'm going to go ahead and put the other end on so that I know how far to extend it out. Once I test fit everything, then I'll go ahead and get the screws in. So I've got the assembly complete. Now what I want to do is install one gutter screw in each connection. And one is all you really need. And they go in pretty easy. Just like that. And I'm going to put one back here. Just try not to put them through the seam. That'll bite you a little bit. And just like that. Got one more to put, two more to put in, and then we'll get the brackets installed. So holding the downspout in place, I made a couple of marks. And that is where I'm going to install this bracket. And it will get one rivet right through the side of the downspout to secure it to the structure. And I'm going to use the same screw, which would be the gutter screw that I just used in there, to attach this to the trim. Just like that. I'm going to put one more up top, and then we'll get the downspout in place. Both brackets are installed, and I have not attached the gutter to the adapter up top yet. I'm just holding it in place. So I'm going to drill my 1/8 inch hole right here for my rivet. And get my rivet in. So now I'll repeat the process on this side. door bracket up top, and then I'll get the screws in. Now I'm just going to put one screw right here and one on the opposite side, the same gutter screws, and that'll complete the process. So that completes the installation of the gutters. As you can see, they turned out pretty nice. I'd like to thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed yourself, click on one of them two videos, it'll pop up right there. I'd like to give a special thanks to Tony Iaconelli and Brett Wimmer, because none of this could happen without them.